Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Justin from Justin and Max Games. And I'm going to be doing a very quick and fun review of a really cool game that is a year old or something like that, a couple years old, I don't know. But it's become a quick favorite for a medium light worker action sort of placement game. The game is called Dragonsgate College. We already have a number of dragon games such as Dragon Valley, really good underrated game, Dragon Flame, Runebound, and Simurgh, and also the Simurgh expansion, Call of the Dragon Lord. One of our all-time favorite games. This is Max's top 10, and I rate it very highly. And it's from NSKN Games, just like Dragonsgate College. NSKN Games is turning into one of our probably favorite game companies. Anyway, the reasons why I think this game is so cool, and I'll just tell you straight up, I'm going to be rating it an 8 out of a possible 10 ahead of time, is the fact that there are so many ways of accomplishing what you want to do in the game. Really, the crux of the game is the careers. You're trying to take your apprentices, and you start with some simple apprentices, and then you can try to acquire other ones as the game progresses, and you're trying to get your stats up on your home board high enough that you can get them into one of the career paths. And some of them have very moderate requirements or very mild requirements, and as the game goes on, you're going to be trying to acquire apprentices and build up your house so that you have the requirements to get them to score in levels 2 and then ultimately level 3. But there are so many interesting little mechanisms in the game, and maybe the word mechanism is not correct. I know the game is more or less about this dice drafting thing, but really it's about how to upgrade your home. And there's many ways of doing it. You can build buildings that will upgrade your home and then will also upgrade the stats that everyone will have. You can acquire teachers to put into your home school that will upgrade the various stats. You can gain bonuses by the various careers that you put your apprentices in to gain greater stats. So this whole idea of how you're going to up the stats so that you can get these careers going is really the crux of the game, and there's so many different ways of doing that. I find it really fascinating. The idea of the dice drafting, which is you choose a number and then you do an action based upon where you can use that action on the board. If you use someone else's color dice, then they get a turn as well, so that you can try to eke out a few more turns. You could try to eke out a few more points here and there, and to be honest, the points in this game are very mild. You're not getting thousands of points. You're not getting 20 points on a turn. You might get, I think the most you can get is 3 points during a turn for building a 3-roomed building and trying to figure out which buildings are going to be best. You know, everything in your strategy has to be integrated. For example, you could be building buildings that have another room to put a teacher in, and that also give you a little bit of an upgrade on one of your stats. Or you could be building buildings that don't cost so much because there's maintenance for your whole house, and as your house grows, as your school grows, so do your maintenance costs. You're going to be trying to get your students into different career paths, because if you can get them into 3 different career paths, that for every 3 sets of 3 you'll get something. Also, you're going for trophies, and for every set of 3 trophies you're going to get points, and that's actually a lot of points at the end of the game. You can get 4. There's also the subterfuge track at the bottom of the board, and you're going to gain points for who's ever ahead on that track at the end of the game. Then you have these very cool imp tokens, which allow you to modify the dice, and you have your wizardry cards, which give you usually a quick ability, and then everyone else gets something as well. And sometimes you can even eke out another turn that way. It's eking out little bits of things as you're going along. You can go down the dungeon, and if you can get to the end first, you're going to get a trophy, and you can figure out which trophy you want there, along with the trophies that you're going to get for careers. Lots going on in the game. It's definitely replayable, or the replayability, I should say, is very high for us. There's a great variety of the students and teachers, and their stats are all a little bit different. If I have a couple qualms about the game, they're not so significant. One, the stats on the tiles are really small, and I think they could have been bigger or more prominent. And the pictures, although the art style is very unique, is kind of, I don't know, sometimes a little weird. And some of the kids look a little bit scarier than cute. But also there are some some stats that are the same on different tiles. So you think, well, why are there different kids? They basically have the same stuff. That's not a big deal. Another very weird thing in the game is the hourglass that's in the middle of the board. It says in the instructions that the bottom part is where you start and then your spent dice go on the top. That doesn't make too much sense to me. I mean, I guess unless it's magic. So we play that the dice start on top and then as you use them, they go on the bottom. Not a big deal. Nothing too much else. Oh yes, there's one of the designers on Board Game Geek had mentioned a variant where if you use someone else's dice, they can't, and then they get a turn, they can't use the dice on that same action space. They have to find somewhere else to use it, and I think you have to do that no matter what. A lot of people have said that there's a lot of little broken things in the game. I don't see it. I think it's a really, really good game. Some of the language in the instructions also is sometimes unclear. The use of the word buildings, not only are they your physical buildings, but they're also the spaces on your home board where you could put a teacher or you could put a student. So that was a little bit unclear as well. Maybe if there were some, I don't know, dark circles around it. And again, some of the imagery on some of the things is a little bit ambivalent, but not a big deal, especially since, and NSCAN always does this. They did this with Simurg, which was great, which is that each tile has a number on it. So if you are confused, that number correlates to something in the rule book and you can, figure it out from there. I really like this game. I think it takes about an hour to play. It says an hour to 90 minutes. I think if you have a few players that really know what they're doing, you could definitely do this in an hour. And although you add a little bit more dice as the turns go along, you only have ultimately 5 rounds of play, and the first 2 go by very fast. So you start to really think, oh, I want to do all this stuff, and I only have a few rounds. But really, focus on careers, and that's very cool. Maybe if I had a criticism also, although this game is supposed to be about magic, I never really get that sense in the game. You're upping stats and then trying to score the careers. It seems like it could have been anything else. It could have been just like students that are good in, math, science, and reading, and their math, science, and reading stats, they go into a career. I don't get the sense of something being transformed or something that's supernatural, that really feels that way in the game. But then, although that kind of stuff, those kinds of themes are important to me, it doesn't overwhelm me in this kind of a game because it's only an hour game and it's a lot of fun. I definitely highly recommend Dragonsgate College. Get it today.